Have you ever wondered what life is like for elderly parents living with their grown children? Do they find comfort and happiness, or does it lead to unexpected challenges and heartache? In today's video, we'll explore the powerful stories of Callista, Mrs. Amber, and Mrs. Kelly, three women who faced grief, independence, and the complexities of remarriage in their later years. Stay with us until the end as we uncover the valuable lessons their experiences teach about resilience, self-care, and finding true happiness in your golden years. By watching until the end, you'll learn the crucial steps to ensure a fulfilling and meaningful life after significant loss, and how you can embrace your independence, regardless of life's challenges. If you haven't yet subscribed, I highly recommend doing so and activating the notification bell to ensure you never miss a video. Your support means a lot to me as we continue to grow our community and reach more people with our content. If you enjoy the topic of this video, please leave a comment with the number 1. If it's not quite your cup of tea, drop a 0 in the comments. Your feedback is crucial in helping me create content that better serves you. Let's get started. My dearest friends, as we journey through life and the hands of time gently etch their mark upon us, we are often confronted with a profound question: what is it that we truly seek as we grow older? Is it the comfort of being surrounded by our children and grandchildren, witnessing the continuation of our legacy through their laughter and achievements? Or do we perhaps long for the quiet, unspoken happiness that comes from a deep, enduring bond with our life partner, someone who has walked beside us through the highs and lows, sharing in our joys and sorrows? For many of us, there exists a belief that in our twilight years, it is only natural to rely on our children. After all, haven't we spent a lifetime nurturing them, guiding them through their struggles, and giving of ourselves to ensure their future? And now, isn't it their turn to take care of us, to repay the debt of love and sacrifice? This belief, while deeply rooted in love and tradition, is not always grounded in the reality of modern life. Yes, our children love us, and we will always be their parents, but they are also individuals with their paths to follow. They are navigating their journeys, with their own families to raise, careers to build, and dreams to chase. Life places demand upon them, just as it did on us when we were their age. And as much as they may want to be there for us in every way, they simply cannot shoulder all of our burdens as we grow older. Expecting them to do so can place an unintended strain on their lives and may lead to disappointment or heartache for us. Therefore, rather than relying solely on the hope that our children will be our caregivers in old age, we must consider building our strong foundation's pillars that will carry us through the latter parts of dignity and fulfillment. These pillars are not built overnight. They are constructed over time with care, thought, and intentional action. Among these, there are 3 vital pillars that I believe are essential to secure a happy and serene old age. The first, and without a doubt, the most important pillar is our health. It's a truth we often overlook in our younger years, blinded by the pursuit of success, wealth, and achievements. How many of us, in the prime of our lives, sacrifice our well-being, working long hours, skipping meals, neglecting sleep, all in the name of providing for our families or chasing our dreams? We think that we will have time later to take care of ourselves, and that we will tend to our health when we're older. But the reality is far different. Health is not something we can reclaim easily once it's lost. It requires consistent care and attention throughout our lives. There is a common misconception that financial wealth is the key to a worry-free retirement, that if we save enough, we can buy our way into a comfortable old age. While having financial security is undoubtedly important, we often fail to recognize that without our health, money becomes meaningless. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. We cannot enjoy the fruits of our labor if we are constantly battling illness, or if our bodies no longer allow us to partake in the joys of life. The adage "health is wealth" holds in ways we might not fully appreciate until we begin to feel the aches and pains, the fatigues and pains. When we are young, we may take our vitality for granted. We work long hours, chase career milestones, and often put our physical and mental health on the back burner. We assume that the time will come when we can slow down and focus on ourselves. But as the years roll by, many of us come to realize that we would give anything: our money, our success, even our material possessions, just to feel strong and healthy again. Health is not something to be neglected until our later years. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built. If we wait until old age to prioritize our health, it may be too late to reverse the damage done by years of neglect. Our health determines the quality of our lives, not just the length of it. Even if we have amassed a fortune, if we are constantly ill, bedridden, or dependent on others for our basic needs, that wealth offers little comfort. As we age, our bodies naturally begin to slow down, and while modern medicine can help us manage some of the physical changes, it cannot restore the vitality of youth. We must nurture our health now while we still can. This means paying attention to what we eat, staying physically active, maintaining a balanced lifestyle, and prioritizing our mental well-being. It means recognizing that our bodies and minds are our most precious assets, more valuable than any bank account or property. It's also crucial to understand that, as we age, even the most devoted children may not have the time, resources, or energy to care for us in the way we might wish. They will want to help, yes, but their own lives will demand much of their attention. And as loving parents, we do not want to become a burden to them. We want to remain independent, capable of caring for ourselves, and enjoying the life we have worked so hard to build. Good health is the key to this independence. Without it, we risk losing not only our physical abilities, but also our sense of dignity and autonomy. In addition to health, the second pillar we must build is financial stability, not wealth for the sake of luxury, but security that allows us to live comfortably without fear of hardship. We must plan wisely, not for extravagant lifestyles, but for a life free from the anxieties of financial uncertainty. This involves careful planning, saving, and making informed decisions about how we spend and invest. It is about ensuring that we can provide for ourselves, even if our children are not in a position to do so. Finally, the third pillar is emotional well-being. It is the joy and contentment we find in the relationships we nurture, the passions we pursue, and the meaning we find in our daily lives. Emotional health is just as important as physical health, for without it, even the healthiest body can feel empty. We must cultivate friendships, hobbies, and a sense of purpose that sustain us as we grow older. We must seek out the things that bring us joy, whether it's spending time in nature, engaging in creative pursuits, or simply sharing moments of connection with those we love. Taking care of your health in your golden years is not merely a personal choice, it is, in fact, an act of love and responsibility toward yourself and your family. As we grow older, the impact of our well-being extends beyond our individual lives, easing the burdens of those we care about, most our children. By prioritizing our health, we free them from the weight of worrying about our physical condition, allowing them to live their lives with greater peace of mind. In this way, staying healthy becomes a gift we give not only to ourselves, but also to our loved ones. We often overlook the importance of understanding our bodies as they change with age. Each body has its unique needs, and taking the time to listen and respond to those needs, whether through proper nutrition, regular physical activity, or mindful rest, creates a foundation of vitality that sustains us. A balanced diet and consistent exercise regimen aren't just meant to stave off illness, they infuse our lives with energy, allowing us to remain active participants in the world around us. When we care for our health, we ensure that we are not placing the burden of caregiving onto our children, and we preserve our sense of autonomy and dignity. But perhaps most importantly, a healthy body supports a youthful spirit, enabling us to experience the joys of life with vigor, no matter how many birthdays have passed. Equally significant to our emotional and physical well-being in old age is the presence of a life partner. While the love and support of children and grandchildren undoubtedly bring great happiness, they cannot fulfill every emotional need we have. As human beings, we continue to seek love, understanding, and companionship even as the years pass. There is an unspoken truth in the old saying, a spouse's care is worth more than a child's. For couples fortunate enough to grow old together, the bond between them becomes a priceless source of comfort and fulfillment. The care shared between spouses in later years goes far beyond practical matters like preparing meals or assisting with mobility. It is rooted in a deep, mutual understanding that only a lifetime of shared experiences can cultivate. But what happens when life doesn't unfold as planned and old age is spent without a partner by your side? For many, the absence of a spouse can lead to profound loneliness, even when financial stability and familial love are present. Without someone to share their days with, to provide emotional intimacy, and to simply understand their unspoken feelings, this loneliness can feel like a heavyweight, difficult to bear alone. The story of Mr. Man from Hanoi is a poignant example of this reality. After the loss of his beloved wife nearly 2 decades ago, he dedicated himself to raising his children alone. His efforts paid off as he is now surrounded by successful and loving children, and he has accumulated a comfortable fortune. Yet, despite his material security and the care of his children, an emptiness lingers. His wife's absence left a void that nothing else could fill. But life took an unexpected turn when Mr. Man met Mrs. Ho at a local community club. In her, he found not only companionship, but also the understanding and connection that had been missing from his life for so long. Their bond blossomed into a desire to marry and spend their remaining years together. However, their newfound happiness was met with resistance from Mr. Man's children, who feared societal judgment and complications regarding family inheritance. This story sheds light on a truth that is often overlooked in old age. The need for companionship is as essential as ever, yet it is frequently misunderstood or disregarded by family members. Children, no matter how loving, cannot always fill the emotional gaps left by the loss of a life partner. They have their own lives to lead, their own families to care for, and their concerns to manage. While they may visit and offer support, they cannot provide the day-to-day companionship that a spouse can. The companionship of a partner in old age brings joy, solace, and a shared understanding that enriches life in ways no one else can. Having someone to walk beside you in your later years offers a unique comfort, a person who knows your heart as well as your heart, and someone to share laughter, memories, and even the quiet moments of reflection that come with age. When we have a partner by our side, we are less likely to feel the burden of isolation, and we can face the challenges of aging with courage and hope. For those who find themselves without a partner as they enter old age, it is essential to recognize that love and companionship do not have an expiration date. Whether through finding a new partner or building strong, meaningful friendships, the need for connection remains, and it is one we should not be ashamed to seek out. In doing so, we not only nurture our happiness, but also alleviate some of the pressure on our children to be our sole source of support and companionship. As we age, it's important to acknowledge the realities of our emotional needs and not be afraid to address them. Society often overlooks the emotional well-being of the elderly, assuming that if one is financially secure and surrounded by family, all is well. But emotional fulfillment goes far beyond those external markers. The companionship of a life partner or a dear friend can fill the heart with a sense of belonging and purpose that nothing else can replace. Finally, we come to the indispensable pillar of financial security. In our youth, we might manage to navigate life's challenges with limited financial means, thanks to our health, energy, and the opportunities that lie ahead. But as we grow older, when our bodies begin to slow and the inevitability of illness becomes more frequent, the importance of financial stability becomes undeniable. In old age, the absence of secure financial resources can make life's trials seem insurmountable. For those who are fortunate enough to have accumulated savings, pensions, or other financial safety nets, the later years of life may feel more manageable. These individuals can afford the care they need and maintain a sense of independence. But for many, financial security is not a given. Some enter their golden years with little to no savings, no pension, and no reliable income. For these individuals, the burden often shifts to their children, who might themselves be nearing retirement or facing financial challenges. This situation can create a heavy emotional and financial strain on families, leading to stress, tension, and even resentment, especially when the ability to work and earn money is no longer an option. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know you are still watching this video with me. Financial security in old age is not merely a matter of convenience, it is a key to maintaining one's health, dignity, and independence. With sufficient savings or a reliable pension, an elderly person can cover medical expenses, seek out proper health care, and enjoy life without the constant fear of running out of money. This financial cushion provides not only the means to live comfortably, but also the freedom to make choices without being dependent on others. It protects your dignity, allowing you to navigate aging without placing a financial burden on your children. Without financial security, old age can be riddled with anxiety and uncertainty. Even the simplest pleasures, enjoying a meal at a favorite restaurant, traveling to see loved ones, or indulging in a hobby may feel out of reach. The fear of running out of money or becoming financially dependent on family members can overshadow what should be a time of peace and reflection. On the other hand, with financial stability, you can continue to engage with life on your terms. You can hire help if needed, afford proper medical care, and maintain a lifestyle that brings you joy and contentment, free from the pressures of financial need. Unfortunately, we often hear stories of elderly individuals who are mistreated, neglected, or even taken advantage of situations that frequently arise due to financial dependency. When parents rely entirely on their children for financial support, it can create a power imbalance that strains even the closest of relationships. For those who truly love their children, preparing for old age with financial aid is one of the most thoughtful and loving gifts they can give. By securing their financial future, they ensure that they will not burden their children, allowing their family relationships to thrive without the added stress of financial obligation. In many traditional cultures, particularly in Asia, there has been a long-standing expectation that children will care for their aging parents. This cultural value emphasizes the importance of filial piety and loyalty. However, in today's world, it is essential to adopt a more balanced and proactive approach. In many developed nations, older adults prepare for their later years by taking responsibility for their well-being, securing their health, finances, and personal happiness so that they can live with dignity and independence. While it is wonderful to have children who love and support you, it is equally important not to rely solely on them for your future. The reality is that children today are often faced with their struggles, balancing careers, families, and financial obligations. Expecting them to fully care for aging parents can be overwhelming, and it is important to recognize that this is not the same world it once was. By taking the steps to prepare for our old age, we relieve our children of an enormous burden and create the conditions for a more peaceful, harmonious family dynamic. To live a truly fulfilling life in old age, we must cultivate 3 key pillars: maintaining our health, cherishing a life partner, and securing financial stability. These 3 elements serve as the foundation for a life of dignity, happiness, and peace as we grow older. Health ensures that we can enjoy our days with energy and vitality. Financial security grants us the independence to live without worry, and a life partner provides the love, companionship, and emotional connection that enrich our existence. Dear friends, as we reflect on our future, let us not place the entirety of our hopes on the shoulders of our children. Instead, let us build these 3 essential pillars, creating a life that is rich with purpose, joy, and serenity. By taking these proactive steps, we can embrace our later years with confidence and grace, free from the unnecessary weight of dependence, and filled with the knowledge that we have done everything possible to ensure a bright and dignified future for ourselves and for those we love. These 3 pillars, health, a loving partner, and financial security, form the most reliable foundation for a peaceful and fulfilling old age, allowing us to live not as burdens, but as burdens. Best to life, wisdom, independence, and love. Part 2: 3 secrets to thriving after losing your spouse. Have you ever found yourself imagining how you might handle the world if the person you love most was suddenly no longer by your side? Losing a spouse is one of life's cruelest and most unpredictable blows, leaving behind an overwhelming void that often feels impossible to fill. The weight of that loss can make life feel disorienting, as though the very foundation you've stood on has crumbled beneath you. Yet, even amid such heartbreak, there are ways not just to survive, but to rise from the ashes of that grief and flourish in ways you may never have thought possible. Today, we'll explore the powerful and uplifting stories of 3 individuals who have weathered this storm and emerged stronger, each revealing secrets to reclaiming joy, purpose, and strength. Through their journeys, you'll discover that even after the deepest sorrow, it is possible to rebuild your life, find new meaning, and rediscover happiness. In this unpredictable world, where nothing is guaranteed, we never truly know how long our loved ones will walk beside us. As the wise Nazaki once said, life is like a train, and everyone is with you for only part of the ride. When they reach their stop, be thankful for the moments you shared. And if you're fortunate enough to have someone travel with you for the entire journey, count yourself truly blessed. Love is an incredible gift, one that graces our lives whether in youth or the twilight of old age. But the reality is that not every love story lasts forever. Sometimes illness or tragedy takes our partners away far too soon, leaving us with an emptiness that echoes through the walls of a now quiet home. The house, once full of shared laughter and tender moments, can feel hollow, like a shell of the life you once knew. The bed feels too large, the meals too quiet, and every corner holds a memory that stings with the absence of the one you lost. Yet, as unbearable as it seems, life doesn't pause for us to grieve. The harsh truth is that time keeps moving forward, indifferent to our sorrow. The loved one who has left us cannot return, no matter how deeply we wish it. But here lies the first of 3 profound truths about moving forward. Healing begins with acceptance. Accepting that, though your spouse is no longer with you physically, their presence lives on in your heart, in the lessons they taught you, and in the love that shaped your soul. While their departure creates a wound that may never fully heal, learning to live with that wound is the first step toward regaining your strength. The second secret is learning to find your independence again. For years, you may have been part of a partnership where decisions were shared, and you navigated life as a team. With your partner gone, you now stand alone, but within that solitude lies a chance to rediscover yourself. This doesn't mean forgetting your spouse or diminishing their importance in your life. Rather, it's about embracing the opportunities you have to grow as an individual, exploring passions and interests that may have been put aside, and learning to rely on your inner resilience. Finally, the third and perhaps most beautiful secret is opening your heart to new forms of happiness. This doesn't mean replacing your spouse or moving on in the traditional sense. It means finding joy in the small things again, whether it's in the love of friends, the beauty of a sunset, or the simple pleasure of a hobby that brings you peace. Life, though forever changed, can still hold moments of happiness if you allow yourself to embrace them. The journey after losing a spouse is never easy, but with time, patience, and the secrets shared by those who have walked the path before you, it is possible to rebuild a life filled with purpose, joy, and even love, whether in the memories you carry with you or the new experiences that await. When you lose a spouse, the sorrow can feel like an unbearable weight, and it's easy to sink into overwhelming grief. However, 3 experienced individuals have come forward to share their personal stories, offering wisdom and advice to middle-aged and elderly friends who may face this heartbreaking loss. They emphasize that to live a dignified, peaceful life in your later years, there are 3 things you must avoid. By doing so, you can ensure that your golden years remain comfortable and filled with quiet joy, even after such profound sorrow. 1. Immersing in excessive grief for too long. Picture losing someone who has been your companion for decades, someone with whom you've shared both life's joys and its hardships. The pain of their absence is crushing, and the loneliness feels like it might consume you. This was the reality for Callista, who, at the age of 67, faced the devastating loss of her beloved husband. Their life together had been full of love, laughter, and shared memories. But when he passed, Callista found herself standing at a crossroads, uncertain of how to move forward without him. In those dark days, Callista's life felt hollow and meaningless. When my husband died, she recalls, I was 64. I couldn't accept it. I felt like a walking corpse, as if my soul had left me along with him. There were nights when I cried until I couldn't anymore, and the silence of our empty bed would gnaw at my heart. The thought of following him crossed my mind more times than I'd like to admit. But amidst the sadness, something began to shift. Callista would often look at the old photos of their happiest moments together, and she began to realize that her husband would never have wanted her to live in such despair. I thought to myself, she says, would he want me to suffer like this? I knew he wouldn't. He would want me to live, to find happiness in the life that was still ahead of me. And I realized that crying wouldn't bring him back, but living well might give him peace. Callista's journey toward healing wasn't easy, but it's one filled with hope and resilience. She came to understand that while the pain of losing a spouse is the deepest form of heartbreak, dwelling in that pain forever does a disservice to both the living and the departed. She learned to honor her husband's memory not by giving in to sorrow, but by living her life with purpose. Slowly but surely, she embraced the beauty of the present and opened herself up to the possibilities of the future. The lesson here is clear. Though the past may be full of wonderful memories, and the pain of loss may be sharp, it is crucial to look forward. Staying stuck in the past can rob you of the beauty that still surrounds you and the opportunities for joy that lie ahead. Living fully is not only a gift to yourself, but it also allows your departed spouse to rest in peace, knowing you are continuing with strength and grace. When faced with the loss of a spouse, the first and most important step is to stay calm. Allow yourself to grieve, but do not let the grief control your life. Take care of your health, maintain a clear and focused mind, and slowly begin to rebuild your confidence. Start by taking small, gentle steps. Enjoy a meal when you're hungry, sleep when your body calls for rest, and take strolls through parks or along familiar streets. You don't have to rely on others to carry you through. Instead, learn to cherish your solitude, using it to nourish your soul. Callista discovered the art of living alone with dignity. She found that being alone doesn't have to mean being lonely. It can be a time of reflection, growth, and wisdom. Just like savoring a fine, aged wine, solitude can be something to relish, nurturing your spirit and giving you the strength to move forward with grace. Embracing this time of life with elegance and a sense of purpose will help you to find peace in the years to come, living not only for yourself but in honor of the love you shared. When loneliness creeps in, reaching out to friends, reminiscing, and sharing life's little sling can breathe warmth into even the coldest, most isolating moments. Callista's story serves as a beacon of light for anyone who has endured the heart-wrenching loss of a lifelong partner, reminding us that even in solitude, there can be comfort, connection, and hope. The later years don't have to be spent in sorrow. They can still hold moments of beauty and enjoyment, even after profound loss. Losing a spouse, especially one with whom you've built decades of memories, is one of life's most painful challenges. It can feel as though part of your own heart has been ripped away, leaving behind an emptiness that seems impossible to fill. But grief is a universal emotion, experienced by people of all ages, backgrounds, and cultures. It reminds us that the sorrow and loneliness we feel after such a loss are not only normal but part of the shared human experience. This collective understanding can make those grappling with loss feel less alone, knowing that countless others have faced and survived the same storm. Callista's journey is one of resilience and rediscovery, and her story speaks directly to the heart of what it means to rebuild your life after loss. At 67, her world was turned upside down when her husband passed away, leaving her to navigate the darkness of grief alone. But instead of letting that grief consume her, she slowly found a new purpose, a path that brought her back to life. Her experience is a testament to the strength of the human spirit, showing that no matter how deep the pain is, there is always a way forward, one that can still hold moments of joy, fulfillment, and peace. Her story offers hope to those struggling, gently reminding them that while the sorrow may never fully disappear, they are capable of finding happiness again. Callista's story also highlights the importance of self-care and mental health during times of intense grief. It's all too easy to lose yourself in sorrow, to neglect your well-being when the weight of loss feels overwhelming. Yet, Callista's decision to care for her body and mind, to find joy in life's small pleasures, and to seek out friends for support are practical and powerful steps for anyone in a similar situation. She shows that taking the time to nurture yourself, to reach out when you need it, is not only necessary but healing. It permits others to seek the same care and reminds them that it's okay to embrace life again, no matter how much it may have changed. Another profound aspect of Callista's journey is her relationship with memories. When grief felt unbearable, she found comfort in looking through old photos, remembering the moments of happiness and love she shared with her husband. Memories, when cherished, can be a balm for the soul, offering a way to honor the past without being held captive by it. Callista's story reminds us that while the person we love may no longer be physically present, the memories of them live on, shaping us and helping us move forward. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment on number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Ultimately, Callista's experience teaches us the importance of living in the present and looking forward to the future. Even after a devastating loss, it is natural to grieve and reflect on the past. But it's just as important to find new sources of happiness and new purposes that make life meaningful once again. This balance between holding on to cherished memories and embracing the future is essential for finding peace and fulfillment after such a profound loss. Callista's story shows us that while loss changes everything, it doesn't have to steal the beauty that remains in life. Through resilience, self-care, and a deep appreciation for both the past and the present, the later years can still be filled with joy, connection, and meaning. After her husband's passing, Mrs. Amber believed in the natural cycle of life, that just as she had cared for her children when they were young, they would return the favor in her old age. "I raised you when you were small, and you take care of me when I'm old." It seemed only right, she reflected, filled with this belief. Mrs. Amber moved in with her daughter and son-in-law, embracing the idea of mutual support. She became a central figure in their household, helping raise her grandson, whom she lovingly saw as her late husband's reincarnation, and offering her assistance with daily chores. At first, everything seemed to fall into place. Her daughter and son-in-law welcomed her into their home, and they even gave her a monthly allowance to help with living expenses. In the beginning, Mrs. Amber recalls, there was harmony, and I felt valued. They would give me some money for groceries, and I poured my heart into taking care of my grandson. But as time went on, cracks began to show in this seemingly perfect arrangement. As her grandson grew older and her responsibilities shifted, so too did the dynamics in the household. The financial support her daughter initially provided began to dwindle, with her daughter reasoning that Mrs. Amber had her pension. The cost of supporting the entire family of 4 began to weigh heavily on her, and when she brought up the subject, her daughter seemed less inclined to help. There were times when I'd remind her that my pension wasn't enough, but she would either forget or give me only small amounts. I noticed a change. She became more impatient with me. The tension didn't end with finances. Mrs. Amber, a firm believer in discipline and frugality, found herself increasingly at odds with her daughter's more carefree approach to life. I tried to guide her, especially about saving and spending wisely. Mrs. Amber explained, she shopped online constantly without thinking about the future, and I couldn't stay quiet. I thought it was my duty to speak up. But these words of wisdom were met with growing resentment, and small disagreements became frequent. Even regarding the way her grandson was raised, Mrs. Amber found herself in opposition to her daughter and son-in-law's parenting philosophy. I believed in structure and discipline, while they preferred to let him grow naturally. It created a wedge between us. With time, the relationship that once felt supportive and loving became strained. Mrs. Amber noticed that her daughter and son-in-law started speaking to her with less respect, and the warmth that had once filled their home began to cool. I could feel the shift. They talked to me less and with less kindness. I started to feel like a burden in the very home where I had given so much of myself. It was during this period of reflection that Mrs. Amber made a difficult but necessary decision. She would move out and live alone once more. When I told them I wanted to leave, they said they would miss me, but I could sense their relief. It was clear that my help was needed when my grandson was younger, but now that they could manage on their own, my presence had become more of a weight than a blessing. This realization was bittersweet. Mrs. Amber had poured her love and energy into her daughter's family, only to find that in the end, She was no longer truly needed. Yet, in that moment of sadness, she also found clarity. Living alone again wasn't a failure, it was a reclamation of her own life and space. She could focus on herself, rediscover her independence, and live on her terms. Mrs. Amber's story is a poignant reminder that, while family bonds are important, maintaining a sense of self and independence is essential for true happiness in our golden years. Sometimes, stepping back and choosing to live for yourself is the most powerful act of love, not just for yourself, but for your family as well. Back home, at first, I was overwhelmed by loneliness and a sense of purposelessness. My life had become a quiet routine, yet I felt adrift without the emotional support I once supported. But as the weeks passed, I began to embrace solitude. I reconnected with old passions, calligraphy and painting, and joined local classes where I met a few like-minded people who shared my interests. Gradually, my days became filled with meaning again. I came to realize that the life I now had, one of financial independence, leisure and freedom, was exactly what I had longed for since my husband passed. Finally, I was living the retirement I had always envisioned. Mrs. Amber's story is a poignant reminder of the profound importance of independence and self-reliance in our later years. With life expectancy rising, more and more elderly individuals are faced with the reality of living alone after the death of a spouse. While it may seem logical or comforting to move in with grown children, Mrs. Amber's experience reveals that this choice can often lead to unforeseen challenges and emotional complications. One of the key lessons from Mrs. Amber's journey is that maintaining independence is crucial for emotional well-being in old age. Generational differences can often become sources of conflict, as Mrs. Amber discovered when her views on money, household management, and child rearing clashed with those of her daughter and son-in-law. These kinds of disagreements are not unique to any one culture, they are a universal challenge. In the United States, many families also grapple with these conflicts, as the elderly strive for their independence while balancing the need for family connection. Another significant issue highlighted by Mrs. Amber's experience is the emotional toll of feeling like a burden. After years of dedicating herself to her daughter's family, she found herself feeling unappreciated and even resented. This emotional strain weighed heavily on her, leading to feelings of sadness and worthlessness, emotions that are far too common among elderly parents who depend on their children. In American culture, where independence is deeply ingrained as a core value, the idea of being a burden is particularly painful and can contribute to depression and isolation among seniors. Perhaps the most uplifting aspect of Mrs. Amber's story is her rediscovery of personal fulfillment. Once she began to embrace her solitude and seek out new opportunities, her life blossomed with purpose. She found joy in her hobbies and built new friendships, enriching her retirement with meaningful activities. This serves as a powerful reminder of how important it is for seniors to pursue their interests and stay socially connected. Many elderly individuals in the UC find happiness through community centers, senior clubs, and volunteer work, which provide them with a sense of belonging and continued personal growth. Are you thinking about finding a new partner or perhaps remarrying later in life? Before taking that step, you might want to hear Mrs. Kelly's story. At the age of 62, after the passing of her first husband, she thought she had found love again, only to encounter unexpected challenges and heartbreak. Her experience serves as a powerful reminder to anyone considering remarriage in their golden years, offering valuable lessons about trust, communication, and the importance of truly knowing your partner before making such a significant decision. Mrs. Kelly, reflecting on her journey, shared, "Having been through 2 marriages, I've learned a lot about love and loss. My first husband passed away when I was 53, and 3 years later, I remarried. But within a year, that marriage ended in divorce. Even now, thinking about it brings me both pain and anger. I feel the need to share my story to remind others who might be thinking about remarriage to tread carefully." She had always imagined her retirement differently. At 50, I had retired, dreaming of all the places my husband and I would travel to once he retired as well. We had so many plans, so much time we hoped to make up for, but life had other plans. Tragically, her first husband passed away from illness before they could embark on any of those long-awaited trips. His passing left her devastated, and she found herself struggling with profound grief for years. Her son, seeing her sadness, was deeply concerned. He wanted me to come live with him, Mrs. Kelly explained, but I didn't want to be a burden. He and his family were already so busy. Determined to find a way to heal, Mrs. Kelly's son suggested she join a senior travel group to lift her spirits. However, instead of traveling, Mrs. Kelly decided to enroll in a dance and poetry recitation class on her own. It was here that she met her second husband, Mr. G. At first, we were just acquaintances, she recalled. But one day, I sprained my ankle on the stairs, and Mr. G rushed me to the hospital. He even took care of me at home afterward. For those few days, when I couldn't attend class, he came by daily to help me. This act of kindness drew them closer. Over time, their friendship blossomed into something more. 2 months later, Mr. G proposed Mrs. Kelly said. He told me he liked me and that we should live together for mutual support. I was happy after all. I missed the companionship, but I didn't agree immediately. I told him I needed to talk to my son first. Her son, although supportive, was cautious. He suggested that they meet Mr. G's family to get a better sense of who he was. Mr. G agreed, and soon after the families had dinner together. While everything seemed fine, her son offered a word of advice: observe him more, take your time, don't rush into anything, he urged. But Mrs. Kelly, feeling eager for companionship, brushed off her son's concerns. I thought Mr. G was good enough, she admitted. Not long after, they registered their marriage, and Mrs. Kelly moved into Mr. G's home. At first, everything seemed to be going well. She took on the household chores, as she had always done, and didn't mind. However, trouble soon emerged when 3 of her old friends invited her on a trip. I agreed without a second thought, she said, but when I told Mr. G, he wasn't pleased. He complained that there would be no one to do the housework while I was gone. This was the first time Mrs. Kelly realized that their marriage might not be as equal as she had hoped. I was shocked. I thought, am I just here to do housework? I felt devalued. That day, we had our first big argument. He said some hurtful things, implying that without the housework, I was useless. It was in that moment of conflict that Mrs. Kelly began to see the cracks in her second marriage. What she had thought would be a relationship of mutual respect and support quickly revealed itself to be something else entirely. Mr. G's true expectations of her primarily as someone to manage the household became clearer, and the emotional strain of those realizations weighed heavily on her. Her story serves as a cautionary tale for anyone thinking about remarrying later in life. It underscores the importance of taking time to truly know your partner, understanding their expectations, and being honest with yourself about your own needs and desires. Mrs. Kelly's experience shows that rushing into a new relationship after a loss can sometimes lead to more heartache. It also highlights how crucial it is to listen to the advice of loved ones who had best interests at heart. In the end, Mrs. Kelly chose to leave the marriage, realizing that her happiness and independence were more important than settling for a relationship that didn't truly fulfill her. For others considering remarriage, her story is a reminder to move cautiously, seek open communication, and above all, prioritize your well-being and self-respect. Upon returning from the trip, things took a turn for the worse. Mr. G's son had gone through a divorce, leaving his young grandson with us. Initially, I tried to care for him as if he were my own, but he was a difficult child, spoiled, extremely picky with food, and prone to throwing tantrums whenever things didn't go his way. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 4 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. After a few days, I was at my wit's end. I approached Mr. G, suggesting that his son take more responsibility for his child, but Mr. G reacted harshly. He snapped, "You're not my grandson's mother, so don't interfere. If you can't handle it, then stay out of it." I felt so wronged and hurt in that moment, and it was then that I finally understood how difficult remarriage can be at this stage in life. Mrs. Kelly's story doesn't end there, but her struggles are just beginning. I endured the situation for months, feeling more and more like an outsider in my marriage. I realized that I wasn't accepted by his family and that I had become little more than an unpaid caretaker. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I filed for divorce, knowing that I deserved peace and respect. Thankfully, the divorce went smoothly, and while living alone might be lonely at times, it's far better than living with constant stress and unresolved problems. Mrs. Kelly's experience serves as a stark reminder of the complexities and challenges that can accompany remarriage later in life. As we grow older, our habits, preferences, and worldviews become more firmly established, making it harder to blend two lives. Mrs. Kelly's story reveals several important factors to consider before taking the step toward remarriage in your golden years. Firstly, the ingrained habits that develop over decades can be hard to change. Unlike younger couples who are still figuring out their lives together, older individuals often have deeply set routines and expectations. Mrs. Kelly clashed with Mr. G over household duties and her desire to travel, highlighting the difficulties of trying to adjust to a new partner's lifestyle later in life. These seemingly small differences can escalate, leading to significant dissatisfaction and strain in the relationship. Secondly, acceptance from a new partner's family is another challenge that should not be underestimated. In many cases, older children and grandchildren are already set in their ways, and the introduction of a new spouse can disrupt those established dynamics. Mrs. Kelly's experience with Mr. G's grandson is a prime example. What began as an act of kindness quickly spiraled into a situation where she was expected to care for a difficult child without any real support or appreciation. The lack of acceptance from Mr. G's family created a sense of alienation for Mrs. Kelly, making it impossible for her to feel at home in her new marriage. Another important lesson from Mrs. Kelly's story is the danger of rushing into a new relationship out of loneliness or fear of the future. After the loss of her first husband, Mrs. Kelly was grieving and likely feeling vulnerable. When Mr. G showed her kindness, it was easy to overlook potential red flags and jump into a new relationship without fully considering the long-term consequences. Despite her son's advice to take her time and observe, she rushed into marriage, which ultimately led to disappointment and another painful divorce. Mrs. Kelly's story emphasizes the importance of emotional readiness before considering remarriage. It's crucial to allow yourself time to heal and truly reflect on your needs, desires, and boundaries. Jumping into a new relationship too soon can lead to more heartache, especially if the marriage doesn't fulfill your emotional or practical needs. Lastly, it's essential to recognize that financial and legal complications often accompany elderly remarriages. Complex issues like inheritance rights, healthcare decision-making, and asset division can create friction between families and even between partners. While Mrs. Kelly's story didn't touch on these aspects, they are crucial considerations for anyone contemplating remarriage later in life. It's wise to have open discussions about finances, legalities, and long-term care plans with both your partner and your family before committing to a new marriage. The period after losing a spouse can feel overwhelming and deeply painful, but it's important to remember that joy and fulfillment are still possible. By healthily navigating grief, avoiding over-reliance on your children, and taking your time before entering a new relationship, you give yourself the chance to build a life that is rich in meaning and personal satisfaction. Prioritizing your health, immersing yourself in activities that bring happiness, and forming new social connections can help you rediscover a sense of purpose and independence. It's equally important to treasure the memories of your late spouse while also being open to new experiences. Doing so allows you to honor your past while embracing the future, creating space for growth, love, and joy in your golden years. As we come to the end of these heartfelt stories, take a moment to reflect on what you've learned today. Whether it's Callista's journey of finding hope after loss, Mrs. Amber's discovery of true independence, or Mrs. Kelly's cautionary tale of remarriage in later years, each story carries powerful lessons about resilience, self-care, and the importance of making thoughtful choices in life. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What is one thing you've learned from these stories that you'll bring into practice in your own life? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences and reflections could inspire others on a similar path. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more stories and insights like these. Thank you for watching.